theme for this bike is, this is a tribute to the old Yamaha Enduros. And so there's never been an Enduro 600, but they used to call them like Enduro 250 or Enduro 360 or whatever. So, and then they would have a exhaust pipe that came up, and they'd have a screen like this. And in fact, I can show you one back here in the shop on an old RT 360. So this is visually a visual cue. The seat and the tank are a visual cue. And then the fenders being gray with the black and white stripes is exactly how, and I can show you those old fenders there too. So these are all these visual cues to these old first enduro bikes that Yamaha made. But this is a TT600 motor and frame, and which is a dirt bike that had like 12 inches of travel. I think it's an 82 or an 83. So it's a vintage bike, and I have a copper plate on it. So the bike itself is registered.
So the bike is actually a TT600 dirt bike.
But it had didn't look like any of this.
No.
The frame is stock, except that I shortened this loop. This loop came way back like this, and I shortened the loop. Went back to Bob's and pulled fenders and stuff, and found fenders that would work for me and put them on. The wheels are mag wheels, which the old DT Yamahas, the Enduro Yamahas, never had. What they're from is an FZR 600. So the disc brake, the swing arm, which is steel, it allowed me to weld on lower shock mounts to give you the old twin shock look. The forks.
Was this originally a monoshock frame?
Yes, it was a monoshock frame. In fact, my back tank mount is the top shock mount, which mounted right there, and then onto a linkage on the swing arm, but not the swing arm. This is a steel swing arm from an FZR 600 street bike. And I don't know, it's a little bit loony, it's a little bit crazy to put non-spoke wheels on these bikes. And this is an 18-inch rear, 17-inch front. And so when you take a look at the front end, total FZR 600, triple clamps, forks, monster twin discs, which is complete overkill for a dirt bike. But that's what I love. It's like, and then on the handlebars, I took the clip-ons. This is where the FZR 600s clipped on, which is above the triple tree, but they're reversed because they're supposed to go down. So if you take this one and put it on this side and vice versa, that's the way it looks. And I actually modeled the bike that way, but it's really a dirt bike. You know, the two speedometers, the single headlight. I mean, all these are visual cues to the old Enduro line. One other cool thing about this FZR 600 motor is this is actually a 2-barrel carburetor. So there's no bowl on this side. That's actually that little brass is the main jet for the secondary. And it has a fuel supply line to the bowl on the primary. And it has a butterfly that opens on this shaft here, and it opens just about 7 millimeters later than the primary. But when you're on full throttle, they're both wide open.
What'd this gas tank come from?
That is from one of the old Enduros. It's from a CT 175, and then 125 and 175 shared a tank, which is small. It's like 2.2 gallons. One of the the red frame. This black paint with the red stripe was really from the biggest Enduros, the RT 360, and I have one back there, but it's a later model, does not have this tank. So I went to that color scheme. The TT 600 had a red frame. I've sandblasted it and painted it. One of the treatments I like is the red face chain.
Yeah, I like that too.
I had a friend, it's a little narrower chain width than the FZR 600. Had a friend help me by clamping up the sprocket hub in his lathe, and he machined off just that much. But that just brought the sprocket in to line up with the motor, because the motor is mounted in its stock position in the frame. So the easiest thing in the world was just to slide that sprocket inboard a little bit. This tire's a little narrower than what would normally go on this wheel on the street bike. I had two of these fenders actually. I don't know where they came from. They had two back fenders, and I spliced this fender somewhere in here. So this is actually the back of the other fender, and it came with the whole taillight mount and everything, and I was able to use the rubber mount, everything that goes with it, including the little grommet for the wire pass-through for the taillight. So this is the kind of thing I love doing, is like, oh look, I could do that, and I could use what's there.
Yeah, yeah.
I love doing that stuff. This is the stock header pipe, and it was it's a 4-valve head, so it's got 2 exhaust ports and has the 2-into-1. And I had this ceramic coated, this and the burn protector. But this I just bought off eBay. It's just a just a silencer. It's probably on the small side. I left a heat shield here to protect the brake reservoir from getting too hot. But this look here, this is very BSA. This,
Yeah.
the old 4-stroke BSAs
I can see that.
they'd run a pipe here and they'd do exactly this and run it right out ahead of the shock. And it's a look I really love. This motor was the race motor did not have a tack drive, but it had a little cover plate on there. And I went, I bet the tack gears are in there. So I went back to the street version, which is an XT550, and bought this off eBay. Plugs right in, and I have my little tack. The instrument I bought's a piece of shit, so it reads all kinds of numbers. Any number you want. Is it falling out? Oh, that's the problem. I see it.
Yeah.
No wonder it
Your
wasn't
tack's
reading.
not in and all the way.
Okay, so I'll take all that back. This is a great tack. The problem was mine. Funny. Hey,
it's still their fault because they didn't put a little dab of Loctite on it.
And this bike never had an ignition, so I bought off eBay the ignition that goes with this FZR 600. And it really is pretty simple. It's just off and on. It has a lock position, but it's not. There's no lock pin structure.
Now this is
here.
kicker only, right?
Kick only.
And
this actually is the light switch that came with the bike. It's just a little plunger switch. So when I go to start it, in order to have the maximum voltage, on kicking, I usually shut that baby off.
all right, I say drink a little bit of this beer, burn one, get set up, and ride this thing. Yeehaw! A little easier for me to keep up on this ride. For one, the engine brakes, so I'm not as freaked out. For two, this thing does have a little more power for sure, and I was a little afraid of blowing that thing up. Yeah, this thing's pretty much all low end. I guess it is a dirt bike engine though, so that would make a lot more sense. You want everything to punch all at once. Scott's loving it. He gets to see his motorcycles being ridden by somebody else, see what they actually look like. I think this thing might be a 4-speed. It might be a 5. I'm not very good at counting gears. I usually just kind of go for it. And this thing says we're doing about 60. It feels plenty fast, but once again, nice, light, small motorcycle. It's not as light as that fucking thing, but definitely a light motorcycle. And I really, really respect the fact that all of Scott's custom-built motorcycles, he rides. I mean, they all get ridden, and they really get ridden. I mean, Scott is an absolute maniac on a motorcycle. I mean, this guy fucking chased us through Highway 666 on a Fat Boy, dragging his floorboards the entire fucking way. Just such beautiful craftsmanship, wedging all these different motorcycles together to build one motorcycle. And one motorcycle that you will never, ever, ever see anywhere else in the world. It is a one-of-a-kind, absolutely one-off custom motorcycle.
Fuck self-control.
No. No, Rick, great. It never even hiccuped, like not one time. Every time I revved it up at a light, it was just because I just wanted to hear the engine.